Welcome back to Be Productive. I'm your host, Clara Capano. On this show, we talk about the importance of being productive, but the secret sauce behind that is also staying productive. And to help us talk about some skills and to help us maintain our high levels of productivity, we have growth coach Mark Wetzig joining us. So, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me. I look forward to our discussion.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have a good one today. Today we're talking about generating sales and unlocking new opportunities. So I know that this is an area of your specialty. This is what you have been working on with your clients for years. So let's just jump right into it. What are some of the best ways that you can encourage business owners and leaders to generate more business and sales opportunities?
Well, the first question that I ask them is, do you want to go deeper in the market that you're in, or do you want to go broad? Do you want to get a broader demographic? Because that makes a huge impact on how you really go out and approach more sales opportunities. If it's to go deeper, you can really revisit if you've created one, and it should be created by every company of any size, is a customer database. So going back and revisiting potential opportunities with existing customers. And then if you have information gathered on interested customers that haven't purchased yet, which quite often in a lot of industries is 97 to 98% of the customer base, are you effectively following up with them? It's one of the most overlooked and underutilized methods in business to really go out and look for additional business. And that does not mean just I'm following up. That is a real turnoff to people. You've got to provide value. You've got to provide information or education, even an offer. It's just something to keep the conversation going, but you have to keep it going. Don't just keep touching base with them with no purpose. That's a very common error that people have out there. And then the next one is, with new sales opportunities is, do you have additional products and services? Do you have partnerships with other people that you may be able to, leverage your services with? That's a whole different discussion, but a really great example of that is the wedding industry. Mm-hmm. Party planners, cake decorators, caterers, event planners, everybody can be connected with each other. So are you plugged into other companies to help be potential referral partners with you? And can you do the same for other people as well? Most people get into this, and particularly with their workloads, will get into this shell where they're just concentrating on their business. But if they're operating in kind of a larger business ecosystem out there, can you take advantage of that both by offering and having offers come back to you as well? So it's getting creative on, and that's one thing we work on with people, is we get creative on what is feasible, and what are the most feasible alternatives, and then really optimizing those. Just on you don't have to change your sales message, you don't have to change anything right now, because that can be a big project. Right. But just your entire process itself, what can you do to optimize what you've already got to work with?
Yeah. I think so many of us forget that a big part of the value that we can deliver is our strategic partner. So I love that you brought that up, in addition to the power of following up. But, connecting others and letting them know this is how you can grow your business. It makes it easier, and it really is a great way to show your value. So, talking again about maximizing our dollars, I think so many people think that the only way to get more business is to invest in more marketing. And even though that is a strategy that you can use, I don't think you always have to spend more money to unlock opportunities. So, what are some other ways that people can improve the customer service journey and also improve their bottom line of maintaining revenue without having to spend a lot of money in marketing?
To really start to back up to the very beginning is, and most companies focus on what their product and services are, all the details, all the things we can do. What they don't focus on is what we call the buyer's journey. What is the buyer's journey? We all go through it. We go through it multiple times a day as a consumer. What are the decisions we need to make? what's involved with that? How complex is it? How simple is it? Am I buying a can of Coke or am I buying a car? I mean, there's different methods to, as a consumer, think about your company from the consumer standpoint and what is their journey? What decisions do they need? What questions do they need answered? And what concerns do they need addressed in order for you to become, for them to become a customer? And that gets often, again, we keep inundating people with information and details, but if there's no context to what they need, then it becomes a rather frustrating exercise for both people. So it's really understanding what the customer journey is and where they are in that journey and what they need. And what happens with this is we see, because it's tough to do at the beginning, this isn't really an intuitive thing, is you may start it and you kind of stumble a little bit and you put out an offer and it may not work, but you get better at it and you'll get better at it fast. And all of a sudden it becomes second nature to you. And now you're selling different than anybody else is out in the marketplace because you're understanding what's happening from the customer's perspective, not just, oh, I've got to make X number of sales this year, this week for the company.
Right.
So it's synchronizing with what the customer needs. And we all think, most companies think they do it. Not many really do. And that's one thing we help with is really, going through that challenge and question and answer of, are you synchronized with what the customer journey is?
Yeah. And I think, the biggest takeaway I had from that last statement was again, focusing on what your client needs, knowing that it's not about us, it's about being there for them and really serving them by helping them. And we can only do that when we engage and really listen. So I love that you're really focused in again, this idea of delivering value and building the relationships. So you talked about this. You talked about the power of follow up. You talked about the power of connecting people and also having the customer journey. Well, you can't do any of this unless you have a solid management system. So, talk to me a little bit about how a CRM, a client management system, can really help in generating more revenue.
Well, it's invaluable. I have found both in my personal experience in the corporate world and with companies, it's a resource that people struggle with as far as managing it, keeping it up to date, keeping it relevant, keeping, because really a CRM system is designed to facilitate whatever the next stage is,
Mhm.
whether that is, from the marketing message to an initial phone call, all the way through the sales process itself and tracking that. The the challenge isn't that those things aren't happening, it's they're not being tracked. So
Mhm.
one of the things that I strongly encourage people to do is if you're going to invest in a CRM system, invest in somebody to run it.
Yes.
Okay. It's not just, it's kind of like setting up an accounting system and then not having a finance department.
Mhm.
You've got to have somebody run that. Can it be run by individual people? Yes. Are salespeople necessarily the best people to update your CRM system? Usually not. I speak from experience.
Mhm.
I mean, I spent a lot of time working with various versions of Salesforce. Um, it can be hard. You've got to get somebody that understands the system, and you've got to set up a method to get the information downloaded. If you do it correctly, and that's where you have to have somebody quarterbacking this. If you do this correctly, if you do good CRM documentation and processes, you don't need to do weekly reports. You don't need to do updates because it's all already in the system itself. It's just a matter of putting it together.
Yeah.
Again, will a salesperson do that? No, but you need to get somebody to manage the system. The
Yeah.
other challenge or the other thing to really look for is your is your CRM system tied to everything else digitally for you? So is your website tied to your CRM? Is your CRM tied to your sales process? That all needs to be tied together. There are tremendous resources out there right now of people that just focus on that and can really help alleviate a lot of headache and quite often a lot of money. I know one person that was able to reduce by almost 8 times their digital expense and really streamline their CRM operations and their whole digital operations, but mainly around CRM because they simplified the system. They kept grandfathering in old programs that really were assisting with one part of it because people weren't asking the questions. What do you need? What's the most important information? This he's actually a partner of mine, comes in, he actually thinks to ask the question. So, what do you need? How does your process work? And then build the system that way. Because really a good CRM system should be simple. It really should be simple. And if the more complex it is, the more people won't use it, or the harder it will be to manage. So is it critical? Absolutely. Is it critical, as I mentioned before, about those interested interested parties who aren't yet customers? There's gold right in there, and a good
Mhm.
CRM system will capture that of where they
Absolutely.
are, where the concern might be, what the next step should be with them. Because if you get back in touch with somebody with something that's relevant, showing you're listening, that's a game changer for most companies.
Absolutely. And I cannot agree more. There is, three things I always tell my clients too about getting a good CRM is, one, it's the central nervous system to your business because it is the heartbeat. It's everything you need. I say the same thing too, that I have yet to find a salesperson who got into sales because they love database entry. So yes, have someone else run it for you. And then, the last thing again, it's got to be easy. So, making sure that they're trained on it because the more complex, the more that people will not use it. So, Mark, these have been some valuable, valuable tips. Again, tapping into the power of our networks, our value by connecting other people, the power of our follow up and making sure that we have a clear customer journey that we are connected to, and then having a solid system to house it all in. So I know that this is what you work with your clients on day in and day out. What is the best way for people to reach out if they want to connect with you, possibly to hire you, or even just have a conversation and talk a little bit further?
Sure. The best ways to reach me are for general information, go to my website, which is reignitegrowthcoach.com. And there you can get some general information. You can download a book that I wrote a while back. And then if you want to schedule an initial conversation, we just have a discussion on where you are and what you're looking for and what your biggest needs are. My email address is markw@reignitegrowthcoach.com. And then my cell and text number is 303-921-3440.
Excellent. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being here. What an amazing conversation. And I know I took away a lot of value, and I'm sure our viewers did as well. So, for all of you that are watching, stay tuned because we'll be back with more tips to help you be productive.